Feast your eyes upon this monstrosity. This is a hard plant. It's a pain in the ass plant. Hey friends, what's up? Thank you so much for joining me. Let's settle in and discuss the most difficult plants that I would literally never buy again, and you would have to give me one for free. So let's get ready for a controversial deep dive into said plant. If you're new here, I'm Erin. I like talking about plants, buying plants, and discussing plants. And today, the most difficult plants I have ever. The caveat is I realize that these plants are not difficult for everybody, but for my conditions, I just seem to not be able to make it work with these guys. So let's get into plant number 1, shall we? So this is an Anthurium Rugulosum. The thing is, I bought this plant from Equigenera as almost a challenge to myself. And the challenge was, can I provide enough humidity for this plant? The answer is no. No, I can't. I have tried to make it work with this plant probably 3 times. I had a leaf, it got dried and crispy. I cut it off, it grew back, changed out the soil, I put it in a chunkier mix. So you know I'm actually officially done with you when the last ditch effort is to put you in some pond, which actually this plant seemed to like. The roots here at the bottom still look pretty healthy. It's sitting in this much water here. This plant is actually used to living in Ecuador. It's at a higher elevation. It's used to a little bit of a cooler temperature, which is fine. It's like the dead of winter now, and temperatures have definitely dropped. But despite the fact that I keep the humidifier on in the winter and always when I run the heater, I just cannot keep this happy. This leaf was emerging. I was so excited, and then it got this giant rip in it. I don't want to do this with you anymore. The obvious answer is provide more humidity, put it in a grow cabinet, in a grow tent, in a terrarium. That is a kind of environment that I am just not willing to provide. I just like growing plants in ambient air with, of course, a little bit of added humidity. And if you can't cut it there, I'm sorry, this is actually just not the plant for me. If you are considering this plant and you like growing your plants in the same kind of no fuss conditions, then maybe this should be a hard pass for use. If it was like that, that would be great, but that's not what it looks like. It looks like Two-Face from Batman. This one here, Monstera Obliqua, Peru. Now this actually looks okay because I finally got smart and I put some damp moss on the top here. This was a full plant when I bought it, so it actually still looks nice, but look at this. Is this a runner? Looks like a runner to me. It keeps putting out runners. It loves runners. It's underneath the grow light. I'm trying to give it this supplemental humidity. The roots still look okay. It's a slow grower, but it's not really growing any new leaves. That's not very satisfying. And this is the good one. I have another one. Here's my problem child. You can tell that it's my problem child because I went ahead and I put it in some pond. So the roots look fine. There is something happening down here, which is promising. There's just leaf yellowing for God knows what reason. It started and then it stopped, but it just sort of looks crappy. And actually, I've lost a couple leaves on this one. Not fun to look at. It's sort of tucked in the back. I bought this twice. I love them. They look so beautiful and they're so cool. But once again, the common denominator seems to be, can you provide enough humidity for this? This is a great grow tent, grow cabinet plant also. Maybe a terrarium. Sounds good. But I don't have those things. Like, there's number 2. Monstera Obliqua, Peru. Maybe one of the most difficult Monsteras. And Monsteras are easy. The next one, such a thorn in my side. One of my favorite things in life is when Equigenera of California, which is like 2.5 hours away, when they have their live Instagram sale. So yesterday for one of the sales, one of the plants that came up was this plant. And it was a big one, reasonably priced. And you know what happened? It sat there. Nobody bought it because there's a bunch of plant people, other participants, they know better. Nobody yesterday was up for it. I did actually end up getting a hybrid of this particular plant, which is much easier, and I'm going to do an unboxing of that soon, which is going to be really exciting. But here it is, Miss Anthurium Regale. Have I gone through it with this plant? When I bought this plant, it was a giant, huge leaf from a pop-up. Oftentimes, you buy a plant that's coming from a different environment, you may lose a leaf or two, and then the next subsequent leaves that come out will be acclimated then to your environment and everything will be fine. It will keep pushing out big, beautiful leaves. I repotted this one. I tried to give it more humidity. The crisping just kept rising up, and I finally just had to hatchet it. Plant is literally killing me. This definitely hurts me more than it hurts you. So it looked like there was one of many combinations of things going wrong. A humidity issue, maybe some fungal issues, root rot, I don't know. I don't know that it was actually root rot because I did repot it and the roots actually looked great, which is why I was able to accommodate it into such a large pot because I had to actually accommodate these roots. I put it in a chunkier mix so that it wouldn't get root rot with some aeration here to promote airflow, treated it with fungicide, and everything looked great for a minute. And then this happened, which is a watering problem. It looks like it got overwatered, which sucks. To increase humidity, I had actually put like a plastic bag over it, which looked so stupid. Who knows? This one might go for a little while. Obviously, this end here is gonna not look cute, but we'll see what happens. But it's so pretty and so sad at the same time. The mix I do have this one in is a little bit of coconut chips, and I put some leca in the bottom to kind of have the plant sit up on top a little bit. The roots are less prone to root rot. I have a lot of perlite in it. I have some cocoa coir. I have a little bit of worm castings. I fertilize it with every watering. Maybe this is not tolerating the cold weather as well. This leaf coming out in winter may also be a factor, but it's just more difficult than it needs to be. And this plant has been called like the fiddle leaf figs of anthuriums. And like it, you know what? I actually feel like it's worse because you know what? Look at this. Same bedroom is a fiddle leaf fig that's given me no problem. I even watered it with tap water for a long time. The leaves that come out are beautiful. Here's a little trick. I actually like putting coffee grounds in this one every month or so, and this plant seems to love it. So it will actually go nuts and start producing leaves. This is really so easy. This is like an east-facing window, and it does get some, maybe it sees some of the grow light action from these guys over here. It's one of the most non-fussy plants in this room. Anthurium Regale, way harder than a fiddle leaf fig, in my opinion. That's just me. This good boy over here is a good boy. We have this little seedling, which has been in various stages of death and dying. And we have a new leaf coming out here. I just watered it. I put it in some fluval stratum, which I think actually looks really aesthetically appealing. It looks like caviar to me. It's so modern looking. But more important than that, when you put something in fluval stratum, it's great for rooting corms. It's great for making things root. It's got some nutrients in it. It's an aquarium medium traditionally, but I also love it because I feel like it brings zombie plants back from the dead. It seems that this is liking the fluval because there's a leaf here, which is kind of amazing. So we'll see how this one does. We'll see if fluval is the way to go with these when they're so young like this. Like this is a really pretty one, so it almost is worth pushing on. Such a pain. To be determined. But I will not be buying any more Anthurium Regales. Famous last words. They're so pretty, but I have high hopes for the hybridized version of the Anthurium Regale. So stay tuned for that. On to the next. This is perhaps the saddest plant of the bunch. Of all the plants in my plant ICU, like what is this? It looks like a succulent of some sort. It looks like a rare succulent, but this is actually a plant that I will never buy again. In true to the theme of this video. Again, like in the spirit of, well, you're dead already, I put it in the pond and then I put it in with some perlite to see what would happen. Can't really see. Maybe everything's just dead in here. This is a long strap anthurium. Super excited about it. It kept trying. It was like the little engine that could. The leaf would start to unfurl and then it would immediately crisp, shrivel up, fall off. Oh, a child approaches you. So at one point, this did look like a really fun strap anthurium. It just could not seem to get it together. In all fairness, I could not seem to get it together with this plant. And here we are today. I'm emotionally not invested in this plant anymore. Right? This is just not a good match. And that's fine because you know what? Sometimes plants are like people in that sometimes we just like jive with them and it's easy. And sometimes like my Polydiflorum right there, it's in pond. It is my easiest plant. It would honestly grow in a garbage can if I wanted to. And then this guy too, this Gloriosum, it doesn't seem to have an environment that it doesn't like. I am dying to know if you've had the same experience with any one of these particular plants, or there's other plants that you just can't make it work with. And some of you are tent and cabinet growers, and probably you've had much better luck with this battery of plants that I've just described. Or maybe not. Maybe they're just difficult across the board, but I suspect it's the humidity. Some of the plants in the plant ICU are actually doing great. Let's transition to a happy note here. Okay, why are these little leaves in this giant pot? Well, the root system was robust. This Anthurium magnificum was throwing out big, beautiful leaves that were just getting crispy and just shitty looking. And so I decided to hack them and start over. And like, look at this. Look at this. It's a little pot of happiness. It continues to put out these tiny little happy leaves that seem to be sizing up. This is the latest guy right here. And he seems to be really cute and happy. Incidentally, he's sitting right next to this pretty but problematic child. So these are in twin conditions, and one of them is going to make it, and one of them is just giving me these shredded, horrible leaves. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this, make sure to subscribe so you don't have any plant FOMO. I love talking about the plants. We have got some big unboxings and a big houseplant tour coming up soon. I am wishing you the biggest leaf energy. Cheers.